Why are we going to Knoxville? Why are you doing this? This is a lot of work. This is a lot of work. I think I know why you're doing this, but why is the GOA put this on in Knoxville?
Welcome to Gun Owners of America State of the Second podcast. I'm Kailey.
And I'm John, and today we're here with Johnny B. How are you, brother?
Glad to be here. Here's what I'm excited about. Is the last time I hung out with you people is I had to go out of state to hang out with y'all, and look at y'all sitting in East Tennessee. GOA came to me. I couldn't be happier.
Well, you are worth it. I personally think we're in the best part of the state, best part of the country.
Yeah, East Tennessee is good. And, I know folks can't see it, but we're looking out at the Great Smoky Mountain National Forest here. It's a good place to be. I'm glad y'all are on this side of the state. I know that GOA has a solid presence all over the place, but I really appreciate what y'all do in my state, Tennessee.
Well, let's start off with your origin story. I know some people may not know who you are, have heard of you. How'd you get started? Where did everything go?
I think most of us, including a lot of the guys that are hanging out here in the cabin today, a lot of us, we watch YouTube videos, all of us do, and then at some point you go, yeah, I could do that. I could probably do that. And so I did a really bad video with my laptop. Just open up the laptop. I used the laptop camera, the laptop audio. It's horrific. And I liked it. It was fun. And then, you fast forward 36 months and you meet a lot of people. You go on trips. You meet great folks like y'all. And it has been, without a doubt and without exaggeration, the greatest ride of my life. I wouldn't change a thing. It's been a blast. YouTube is a little bit of the devil. We know that is a necessary evil, but it's also the number 2 search engine in the world, and folks are there, and we can find our people, freedom-loving people that love the Constitution, and interact on there on a website that is pretty much dedicated to communism and socialism and all things horrific, yet we use it as a tool, and I feel really blessed to be sitting here.
When did you start your first video?
Started the first video in 2016, and I did a stupid, if you let me use that language, a stupid holster review. Here's a holster, and you put the gun inside, and you should buy one. Come again. And the audio was bad. The video was even worse, and it was bad. It was really bad. And but you learn, and it was so much fun. And just within a couple months, I started meeting folks and started meeting like-minded individuals. And I graduated from doing a holster review to a gun review. And it took off from there. I had another YouTuber about a year later holler at me, an established YouTuber, and he said, hey, there's an event. I can't go to it. Would you like to go as my quote unquote employee? And so I went, and it was a company in Florida, and they were releasing a holster. So I went to, there's like eight different publications, a couple .coms, a couple YouTubers, a magazine guy, and we went down and sat through their press release and went and did a range day and played with and they took us out to eat. And from there forward, he introduced me to a lot of folks, and I'm just grateful. It really is a lot of fun. YouTube is brothers that I've never had. I never grew up with a brother, and I've met friends. There's friends in this building that I hang out with. And it's just been really cool. The more important part is that, again, we get to interact with people that are of like mind, that still believe in this country, because we're hanging on in some places by a thread, and other places I think we're doing pretty well. I think y'all could speak to that better than I can, but it's been a great tool to interact with people that love the Constitution.
Yeah, my first opportunity meeting you was at a show in 2019 when I was at Faxon. And it's been a fun ride seeing you grow and seeing everything go. What made you start doing, first off, what is the origin of the Drama Llama, and what made you start doing Spicy Friday and things like that?
Years and years ago, I was hanging out, minding my own business, and I don't like low-hanging fruit. Like, I really am not a fan of low-hanging comedy. Like, if you meet somebody named Forrest, don't say it. Think it, don't say it. You don't yell, run, Forrest, run at Forrest. I mean, if you meet a guy named Jake, don't ask him about his khaki pants. He sounds hideous. Like, we all think it, don't do it. And there is the YouTuber Hickok45, and his son, John. And they're both 6'10", 6'11", somewhere in there. And they're monsters. There's nothing you can say about these monsters that's original or funny. And there was another YouTuber that called him, wait for it, a Sasquatch. And I saw that. I closed my laptop And I'm like, this is some drama. We got some drama going on. And I kind of thought about Joan Rivers on the red carpet with, just being extra dramatic with and I went and found some giant glasses of my daughter's and I put on a sequined hat. And I went and just started doing man drama about all the little petty things that we do in the gun community that usually men, it's middle-aged men drama, and we all just like pick on each other. The ladies do a better job than we do sometimes. And I just saw at a whim, had a llama run across the screen to y'all gonna make me lose my mind. Because these guys make me want to lose my mind. You call a 6'11" guy a Sasquatch, all right, y'all gonna make me lose my mind up in here. And it was a one-off joke in like 2018. And here we are still talking about it years later. It's taken a life of its own. I love it. I wouldn't change a thing, but it's all about middle-aged man drama.
Do you feel like the art of comedy is lost in where we're at now, like in our timeline?
I don't think overall in our culture, I think we are in a heyday of comedy. Like there's some things as far as folks that do stand up, watch stand up. We're in a renaissance right now. There is a hub right now, Moths to a Flame in Austin, Texas, led by Joe Rogan and all of that. It may not be your bag. It may not be your cup of tea. It might not be your people, but the comedy is thriving in America right now. Comedy is maybe more than ever. Now, as far as our community, we're way too serious. And I think that's your point. Like, we feel like we've got to fight. Everything's black and white. And it's like, I've said this before, that we treat everything like the Pittsburgh Steelers or the New England Patriots. It's like, this is my team and I'm going to fight you for my team. And if you say LeBron James and I say Michael Jordan, then we're going to fight for the next, like they're both good. Can we just say they're both Hall of Famers and like relax? That mentality of black, white, yes, no, I'm going to fight you to the end comes over to the gun world. And somebody's like, Ruger ain't that great. Oh, Ruger is. My granddaddy had a Ruger and it did 54 rounds and it never had a problem, never had a fail, never had a problem at all. And guys, like we have to fight for our own brands. It's that whole Ford and Chevy. Which one's better, Ford or Chevy? And I'm like, I don't really know. Can we just like turn on some music? I don't know. And that comes over and we do the same thing in politics. This is my politician. This is my guy. This is my girl. This is my Senate person. This is my congresswoman. And you're like, well, like there was one the other day. I don't even want to say her name, but it rhymes with Carrie Lake. And she, as a Republican, has come out pro-abortion. Believe whatever you want, people. This is, I'm about the Constitution. Believe whatever you want. And I said something to a friend of mine. I was like, oh, I just love me some Carrie Lake. And I went, yeah, except for that part where she wants to murder babies. And by the way, bring me on your podcast. I'll talk about abortion. This is fantastic. Whichever camera we're at, this is some high-level entertainment here. It was nice knowing y'all. I'll never be back. But I said, hey, I was like, listen, there's been some challenges with her beliefs. And he bowed up. You can't challenge the one box that they believe in. I love Ruger, Smith & Wesson, Carrie Lake, and Chevy. And to your point, have we lost comedy? We have. It is okay to disagree. We were talking about Ronald Reagan at lunch in the conversation y'all had earlier on a different episode, and it's okay. Like, I can still like him and be mad at him. There are multiple politicians that I like, that they did some cool stuff, and I still want to like emotionally punch them in the face. And life doesn't have to be black. Am I wrong? Does it have to be black and white, or is there room? Not in some things. We are not compromising on the Second Amendment. Okay, true. But on other things like people, because people are messy. People get really messy. There's people that make mistakes. There are people that have done some horrible things in this world that actually end up redeeming their lives. So that is a long-winded answer to say, is comedy lost? Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes I think it is.
Well, I think and you hit on a point, I think we've lost the art of conversation. We've lost the art of having a civil conversation where you and I can not see eye to eye on a person or a subject, but at the end of the day, we could shake hands and go, okay, we're still friends. And we've seen that a lot and I want to blame the internet because it's the easy, low-hanging fruit to blame, but we've lost the art of being able to sit down and have a civil discussion, sometimes heated, but yet civil, and look at each other and go, cool, you want to grab a beer? or you want to get some whiskey or smoke
We're
a cigar.
still Americans. We have lost that idea that we're still Americans. I have a friend, and I say this sometimes when people get upset. You have a friend that's a leftist. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, he's kind of fun. He likes pizza, and he likes pretty much the same things I do. And we talk about the Venn diagram of the overlap of our life. This dude is a pinko communist. Like, he is full on. He's a theoretical socialist. I don't think he's exactly, like wearing a Che shirt. But we talk about the Venn diagrams of what we care about. Smooth roads, like safe schools for our kids, lower taxes. Even he wants lower taxes. And it turns out we agree on so much more than we disagree. Now, we're going to fight over that other 3%. It's a challenge. And I think we lose that as well, to your point, which is just having a dialogue. And we need to be able to have discourse with people. There's some things we're not going to compromise on. G.O.A. is the only non-compromise organization that's fighting. And I believe that. I support this. It's the reason I'm sitting here. Okay, so there's some things that are non-compromise. There's a lot. Like, how do we deal with this border situation? How do we deal with this, like, this year? We can't build a wall this year. Should we build a wall? I don't know. But the point is, like, there's things that are so gray and just things that we're not able to put a pin in and say, this is how it should be.
Well, I think the reason is because, like, let's just go back to the Second Amendment. The reason that we're not compromising on the Second Amendment is because everyone has a Second Amendment right. And it's their choice whether they exercise it or not. And so if we understand that at a baseline, everyone has it, then we should protect it, because it's something that, thankfully, as Americans, it is very clear that it is a constitutionally protected right. If you are anti-gun, fine, be anti-gun. Don't exercise your Second Amendment right. Just don't come after us for exercising our Second Amendment right. But we don't, that's not what their game is. They don't even want to admit the fact that they have natural rights.
But the TV told me that we need to give up our guns, and you people need to give up those assault weapons. And I think they're so conditioned. Like you say, we talk about this all the time, that sometimes the anti-gun folks are better at their jobs than we are. Like, and they're more committed than we'll ever be. And they wake up in the morning. Well, they wake up about 1 in the afternoon because they're jobless. The anti-gun folks, they're committed. And it doesn't matter. You say up, they say no guns. You say down, they say no guns. You say purple, they say no guns. Like, they are rigid. And we're like, my granddaddy was a hunter, so we need hunting rights. And we have politicians that are saying, buy a shotgun. Totally okay with shotguns. And we're so waffly, and we're so, there are things, again, third time, that are black and white in a gray world, in a world that sometimes is gray in a real life, not on TV. TV's all black and white. But in the real world, things are gray. It is nice to have things like the Constitution. One of my best friends is sitting right there. He's got the Constitution tattooed on his body. Like, absolutely, I'm not that committed. Like, I was thinking about getting the preamble, like maybe the preamble to the Constitution, but not all the way to We the People. The idea of black and white, I think, doesn't go away in my life. And if anything, it's getting more, the contrast is getting bigger, to your point of that we're not gonna back down on this. Like, we can't. And God bless the G.O.A. and what y'all are doing. The trip that we had a couple years ago together, where I got to sit down and see the nuts and bolts. Like, I got to meet the wizard, the whole turning and don't look behind the curtain. I look behind the curtain and I'm like, all right, they're for real. Like, this is an organization that is not playing around. And for me, I appreciate that. Last thing, as I get older, it's solidifying for me. Like, this idea, like, I can talk to anybody about anything. You want to talk about aliens or Peruvian face peelers or talk about anything, the conspiracies. I live in a tinfoil hat. I can do it. I can have this conversation. I'll talk about anything. Aliens. I believed in aliens until the White House said they were real. And now I'm like, are they really? Are they really? I'm willing to have that conversation. And it's funny, we'll be having these conversations, and I love talking with people. People enjoy talking to me. I've got a lot of friends. I have a huge social group. We have a blast. Buddy, that I will flip a switch when they start on this. Well, does anyone really need 10 rounds? Yeah, I do. And by the way, it's not your decision what I need or what I don't need. You don't get to make that decision, nor does the government get to make that decision. well, really, is it really, the schools and assault weapons? I'm like, well, why do you talk like that, number one? Number two, again, you don't get to decide what I get to do. And I think that in the very heart is what makes an American, not to be too dramatic and, dun, 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 go Rocky. But I think really as Tom Cruise flies over and we shout USA here, I really think that's what makes an American is this. I know when I'm not going to back down. Throw the tea in the freaking harbor. It's time. I'm getting fired up here, John.
Well, you bring up, number of rounds in a magazine and they go after that. What's next? They're going to go after how many horsepower I can have in my car. Oh, wait, now they want electric. So it's the same thing. It's my right to have what I want. And the Second Amendment is a constitutionally protected right. And we see this constant attack from not only on the federal level, but on the state level. I mean, look at Washington. We had the mag ban lifted and then 88 minutes later stay. We've seen the same thing in Freedom Week in California. And we're seeing the same attack in other states that it's just going after these things because they want to put labels on it. And it's not scary until you put a label on it. There's no such thing as an assault hammer, but all of a sudden now there's an assault weapon.
One blunt force murder takes place a day every day. I've looked up the statistics, and it's pretty much year by year. It's about one murder per day with a blunt force object, and most of those are hammers, some baseball bats, which is scary, horrific stuff. And yeah, to your point, it's not an assault hammer, it's people, but the TV has told us it's the inanimate object. For me, it's fascinating. We're not the only people group that's ever done this. There's been multiple countries where the people scream in the streets to be disarmed. They passed those guns in Australia and bulldozed them. And they were, and the consequences of that during the quote unquote pandemic were significant for Australians. And to see a disarmed society, we are not getting, regardless of what y'all want to do, we are not doing it. I've already brought up abortion. We're not doing Middle East politics. So we're not doing it. Don't chase it. Don't let me chase it. But Israel, after that horrific garbage that took place at that music festival a few months ago, they rearmed their populace. And I said this is my only point, is that when things settle back down temporarily, they will hand them back in, because that is what that people group does. And you can say whatever you want about the Israelis, whatever. I don't want to talk about that. But I will say that they will disarm themselves, and they will vote, and they will scream in the street to disarm themselves. And how different are we? Like Moms Demand Actions, they're pretty doggone organized. They're pretty well funded, screaming in the streets, screaming out in front of schools to please disarm us. Please let us be at the behest of the will of bad men and bad women of this world. It's mostly bad men that do bad things physically to us. And I think it's a challenge. I think it's something we have to stand up for. How do we do that? Well, grassroots stuff. We're all going to be hanging out in just a few months in Knoxville. And yeah, some of that's going to be fun, but some of it's going to be recharging the engines and getting information to people and maybe teaching people how to talk to their friends or pass something out in grassroots. So for me, the older I get, the more it's where I want to fight back in my own way about this disarmament of the people.
Well, I mean, look at Australia. You brought up Australia. It's a great case point there. Disarm most of the populace, as you know, for Australia lives around the edge. There's not much in the middle. We just saw, 2 weeks ago, a knife attack? No. And now look at Great Britain and the knife turn-in boxes. You can't even have a butter knife.
I was watching a podcast the other day. They're sitting around just like this, identical to what we're doing. And one is in Great Britain. And one of the guys brought out, it wasn't even a machete. It was a little bayonet, like a little bitty bayonet. And the other host goes, these are like educated, nice, like normal, like this was not sketchy at all. Like these were businessmen. And one goes, oh my. And the other, and he's like, what? He goes, that's terrifying. And I'm like, it's a sharp piece of metal. And that's where we're at. Like this is happening in the street. You're seeing bad people do bad things. It's what they do. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. I mean, there was a few months ago, I was watching the same thing in Great Britain where they were talking about how people were buying knives online, and because they didn't say zombie on them or something, they were perfectly legal, and they were freaking out about these large, I would say machete style, kukri style blades, and the panic and fear. I'm like, it's just an inanimate object. Why do you have such fear over this object that does not cause harm until it's in somebody who wants to cause harm's hand?
We put a 4,000-pound vehicle that can do 90 miles an hour or faster into every 16-year-old's hand. If they want to do evil things, they can pull off into a pedestrian area and cause havoc. Evil people that are bent on evil will do evil. And good people will do good, and the rest of us will kind of just like muddle along and do our thing and be left alone. Yeah, I'm not wrong. I think that is, or you're not wrong. I think that's important to note that evil people do evil things, whether it's a sharp object or a vehicle that can do some bad things.
So much of what you do is to have fun, to be culturally relevant in a society that would love nothing more than for gun culture to disappear entirely. But you've also made a way to keep yourself incredibly relevant with a younger and younger audience. You're a professor outside of this. What has your students done to sharpen your skills in this area?
I turned 50 a couple weeks ago, and what's funny is, or no, very much not funny, I would like 2 ibuprofen, please. What's funny is, like, the older I get, they stay the same. The old joke, the older I get, they all stay the same age. And holy smokes, they're young. Like, they are young right now. I work with high school seniors, college freshmen, college sophomores, and the more things change, the more things stay the same. So on one hand, ain't nothing different. Everybody wants to be recognized. Everybody wants to just kind of get through their day. Like, can we just like get through the day and go have a cup of coffee or something to eat? But on the other hand, things do change. They change rapidly. The human mind is no longer working the way it did for my generation. You even pull up, the young people don't even watch, there's no TV. TV's gone. But you can pull up TV and you have the crawler coming across the bottom, the thing going up the side. You've got the news anchor up here, that's spinning. So you got all this spinning. And y'all know this, because of that, the human brain is not synapsing or firing the way that it used to. And our attention, anybody will tell this, well, kids don't have the attention span they used to have. Yeah, Pops, they also don't play with rocks and sticks. Things change. But it is a challenge. And so it's this instant gratification, this instant dopamine hit, this instant serotonin hit, this instant trying to get the chemicals in our brain. I was sitting watching there's not many spectacles in this world. I was at a parade, like a parade of lights, a nighttime parade of lights not long ago. And it was a visual spectacle. And there was a 17-year-old in front of me, hunched over, staring at her phone, going through TikToks, and TikToks are pretty short, not even watching a whole one. And she's getting about one a second, dopamine, 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 dopamine. We're all addicted to it. I made a good meme the other night. It was funny. How many times did I pull down on Instagram to get the bling, the likes, the hearts, the thumbs up, the occasional thumbs down that makes me even happier, somebody I can interact with. And I'm looking for dopamine too, same as y'all. We're all wanting dopamine. So the question is, how do they keep me sharp? I don't know that they do, but I do think that it serves as an example that things are, for me, that things are rapidly changing. As you all try to reach an audience, and y'all are reaching an audience that are my dad's age, my age, and the young people's age, trying to reach an audience, things change. The human mind is physiologically changing. How we interact is changing. I'm not just talking like the telegraph is no more there, see? The telegraph has now gone. It's now the age of radio, see? It's not just about which in mediated communication, which we're using the medium right here of audio and video. It's not just which medium, whether it's telegraph or audio. It's not just that. But the way that we use the mediums, that's what's changed. Something's still the same. Comedy works. You watch old Don Rickles comedy, it works from the 70s. It's a while back. So it's not just the medium that's changed. We're using the internet now, the World Wide Web. You've got mail. We're also how we use those tools has changed rapidly. A public address today wouldn't have worked 40 years ago, and 40 years ago, addresses won't work now. The spoken word has changed. So I think for me, it's not just how we do things, but it's the way that we use these tools to reach people, because that's really the goal, is to reach people and not to be too dramatic, but change hearts, change minds, change actions.
Well, you brought up dopamine hits, and I find it funny talking to marketing people in this industry that this industry is like very anti dopamine hits when it comes to marketing and getting stuff out. There's one company that comes to mind that is really good at it, but all the rest, it's like, okay, we got this new product at SHOT Show. It's the greatest thing ever. And then 6 months later, it finally hits the show floor or hits the gun store. So do you think as an industry that we need to change the way we're marketing to get more? Will we get more out of these dopamine hits as a industry?
I think part of it is reaching people with media that is what they expect. I expect, as I cruise through, I watch a lot of stuff that's outside the gun industry. I watch a lot of cooking videos, a lot of music stuff, a lot of how-to stuff. There's an old man in Maryland that's building a boat right now, and I watch him just carve stuff and fit things in. And you got to hit people with things that are similar to what they're used to. So we're used to quick dopamine hits, fast things. I want fast information. You pull up, you type anything into YouTube. If you need to change batteries in your remote, how to change batteries in my remote control, and it pops up, you're going to choose the shortest video. You are. Like, we're all going to scroll down 3-4 videos. This one's 19 minutes. This one's 38 seconds. Click, done. And we got to hit people with where they're at. I think it's a challenge in our industry as we try to get better products into people's hands. We try to get more tools to the young people. The average age of the average hunter in Tennessee is 54 years old. 54. People are not in the woods anymore. 54 years old. They are growing up on video games. They are not outside. They don't want to hunt. Hunting is a wonderful gateway to being able to protect your family. It's a great starting place. So is airsoft in some ways. It's a good starting point to saying, hey, I can take the situation into my own hands and grow. You walk into, and what's the challenge? You walk into, and you've done it, we've all done it. You walk into a gun show, maybe not a local gun store, but an industry-wide show. And who do they have behind the booths? The engineers. Engineers, we love y'all. We love the engineers. We love y'all. Y'all make bridges stay up. You make roofs stay over our heads. We love the engineers. But when you go to a show and you're like, I walk up to a table and they'll just stare at the hands in their pockets and stare at me. And they're like, this is not a spreadsheet. This is not a spreadsheet. And I'll say, hey, what do you got? What is this? This is really cool. I love your brand. What do you got? Well, this is a 9mm and it's made out of carbon steel of 940 CVR. And holy smokes, we do a really bad job of that. We really do. To your point of timelines, like, it's a challenge. Like, a lot of companies, man, they say something's coming out, it's coming out. They say it's going to work, it's going to work. And there's a challenge in our industry, in my opinion, not all of them, but there are companies. Let me say it this way. There is one of the main companies, they still do the majority of their marketing dollars into paper magazines. Not digital magazines, actual paper magazines at Walgreens. That's a problem.
It is. And I've talked to people and I've said the same thing. It's like you're not really reaching the right audience. You've got to get more into this digital age. And I think our industry is very scared of getting into the digital age. We're very kind of Stone Age-ish, depending on the company. We're like paper well, the 60-plus-year-olds who've got money who are retired will read the magazines. Yes, but you also have to get into the younger audience. We need to be able to expand. And the thing that makes me laugh is you brought up engineers. We were watching a video last night of a guy explaining, the chroming process on his bolt carrier group and things like that. And I'm just like, I get it. You're very passionate because you're an engineer. But if I don't have the feature advantage benefit of that immediately within the first 60 seconds, I've already tuned out. I'm like,
and I think in new media we are getting it right. We're doing a really good job in new media. There are guys on YouTube. It's mostly guys. There's a few gals, but there's mostly this like window of guys 25 to 45 that are cool. Like, they're just good. They're good at what they do. To name names, I don't know the guy. I've never met him. Lucas Botkin, T-Rex Arm. He's the one that runs around in his skinny jeans. And what's funny is my son, when he was about 14, hollered at me and goes, Dad, have you ever heard of Lucas Bodkin? And I'm like, how do you know Lucas Bodkin? He's, well, from Call of Duty, because he is now in the video game. And he's just my opinion, a nerdy kid that's really good at shooting. And of course, Grand Thumb, and I can name 13, 15 others. These guys do a really good job. We're getting it right in some ways for the young folks. We are getting it right in that different than it was 5 years ago. YouTube has gotten cool. The YouTube gun shows have gotten great. Guys are not just holding up a tripod and going, now watch me mag dump, pow, 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 and explaining the chrome. They're actually doing things and showing you applications, and it's more entertaining. And that's the truth. As Rome crumbles around us, we are watching the crumbling of a major empire, same as Rome at least 100 years ago. I'm not sure when it was. The primary thing that we're chasing is entertainment, and we can use that entertainment. I think we are right now, hopefully. Are you not entertained? We can use this as a tool to hopefully get people's attention, because we need to change. We're not doing that great in some ways. We need to educate the young people, which sounds like a line, because I do believe that children are our future. Teach them well. We need to educate the young people. We need to get more people shooting. We need to get more people protecting, more people thinking about this stuff, more people understanding what goes on in DC actually affects our day-to-day lives. And I think if we can use pow pow really fast, cool gun stuff on YouTube, it's a gateway to use that word.
Yeah, I think that there's a big misconception from a lot of people where they think they can divorce themselves from politics. Like, I can just live my life and they won't get me until it's time for like you to pay your tax bill, which seems to be everyone's exception to that rule. It's like, well, they can't get me except for on, April 15th when I have to, mail them a check. But that's not reality. And as much as we want that to be, it's important that we get engaged, that we get educated, and that we stay engaged, because that's how we're going to rebuild. That's how we're going to be able to pass the Second Amendment down to the next generation. And that's also how we are able to see where and how to produce the content that reaches people, that makes them think, that
do you chase dopamine? Do you find yourself chasing dopamine?
Of course.
Yep.
I'm
what
human.
gets you? Like, what's getting you right now? Like right now, 2024, what's getting for me? And I know people are off of Instagram, like people are moving away. I still love a good Instagram reel. At 1 a.m, I'm going through and I'm like, ooh, they're restoring a car. Ooh, they're making fajitas. I have pulled up Instagram or Amazon and bought more cooking garbage that I don't need. I bought a tortilla press. I watched a cooking video and I bought a tortilla. What am I going to do with a tortilla press? It's still sitting there under the counter. That's what's getting me. What's getting you these days?
I think for me, it is where I'm searching for that calm, right? Like I like to watch, farm videos, reloading videos. Like I know that's like a weird lane to watch, but like I actually enjoy watching those because there's something calm about the monotony, right? Like that constant repeat.
Dopamine makes you feel good.
And you like it. And so, but I think that's important because guess what? If you're watching a video of reloading, you're going to make the purchase and you're going to learn how to do it because you like it. And it's something calming for your brain. I already have the farm, so I've already like jumped all way down that rabbit hole. But, I enjoy those sort of things because I live in the political space. And so if you constantly are day in and day out, what I'm scrolling at night is to be very calm and cool and collected.
Serotonin. Where's your dopamine these days?
Oh, it's funny. I started watching carpet cleaning videos. Whilst cleaning through. Have you seen those? The giant rug?
Yeah.
It's so dirty.
It's so black. And then it gets clean and your brain goes,
just like,
it's so clean.
It's so satisfying. Like, why is this so satisfying? But you're scrolling through, like you said, you scroll through and you'll see it and you're like, I can't stop watching.
I must watch it get clean. Ooh, soap bubbles.
He's got the big like scrubber thing. It's like all the dirt is coming out. You're like, what the heck? Why am I?
Where did he get the dirty rug?
It's a company. It's like a rug cleaning company that they people bring their rugs to get cleaned. And it's like, wow.
It's amazing.
Look how pretty this rug is now.
You're going to start sending me rug videos. I'm going to be very confused.
There's like the other one. There's a guy who works with old woodworking tools. He's a British guy, just talking about how old woodworking works and showing how to make it. I'm like, I really want to get into woodworking. That sounds like fun. And then I go, no, that's not for me. I know this is not going to last long. Then it's the ones that have been getting me in the gun space recently is they're so dumb. I don't know why I watch them, but it's the guys who throw the ammo down and then they load the mag and then they put it in and they shoot it. It's just for some reason oddly satisfying to watch the whole process go through. I don't know. Those are my 3 weird things that when I'm just death scrolling is that.
We do it, and it's for the 100th time. It's our brains love it. It's a problem. The word Facebook right now, I believe, is somewhere. It is typed somewhere in about 40% of divorce paperwork. The word Facebook. Now that's going to ease off as people are getting off of Facebook, but it's bringing marriages. It's high percentage, 80s and 90s, depends on the state, 70s, 80s and 90s, depends on the state, that are getting together because of social media, because of the apps. It's also the thing that's tearing families apart. And this chasing of the dopamine, this chasing of instant gratification, this chasing of, I ordered some on Amazon. I know we're not supposed to order on Amazon. Yes, I know Amazon is the devil, but I ordered something the other day on a Saturday. I had it at my house on Sunday the next day. That instant gratification, this inability to have delayed gratification is a problem. And I think it's a challenge. One of the challenges that the G.O.A. faces is that everything that you all do is long-term. Everything's a grind. The wheels of justice turn slowly, but they do turn, but they slow. Y'all talked on a different podcast earlier this morning about how slow the Supreme Court is. And so in an age, 150 years from now, we're all gone. And this world and everything in it is held together by people that haven't even been born yet. Where are they going to be? Things are changing. Things are changing rapidly. So in this era of dopamine, of instant gratification, you all are having to file injunctions and reach out to an audience with information. How do you handle that?
It can be a challenge. It really can be. And I want to applaud Ben, who does our Minuteman Moment. I think they do a great job getting that information out as quickly. But it's got, like you said, that stuff can be boring. So you got to get it out in an entertaining way. And I think Ben does a fantastic job of doing it.
Yeah, I also think, G.O.A., and I know you mentioned this earlier, it's a very wide group of people. So you have people that really still want that paper newsletter delivered to their door. And that's how they prefer to communicate. There's other people that want to communicate with us with their email. And then there's people who want to communicate on social media platforms. And so it's investing in the way that our members wish to be communicated to. And that's what we do in the marketing departments, what we do in the comms department, is we try to communicate how you want to be communicated to. Are we successful 100% of the time? No one is. But we do have to have that range between those who are, in their upper 80s, 90s, all the way down to, the newborn that was gifted a life membership because, they're going to be thankfully raised in the Second Amendment. But there's going to be all kinds of age range. And I think that's one of the challenges, not only on communicating day to day, but planning an event. So this is our first convention is coming up, and it's knowing that we have a huge group of people that are that have young families, which is fantastic. But you know what a young family is going to need from their convention? A area for their kids to have. And so it's like, well, how do we make it where the kids are going to want to be there, the parents are going to want to be there, the grandparents are going to want to be there?
The motorized scooters, because there's going to be guys in motorized scooters with cargo pants driving around trying to collect free patches. They're coming. They're coming.
And so it's like, how do you do all of that? And how do you serve a membership base that's worthy of being served? And that, I think, speaks to the underlying philosophy of G.O.A. Our mission is to protect, defend, and restore the Second Amendment. And we do that through grassroots advocacy. And therefore, everything we do is in service to you. It's in service to our membership. And if our membership is treated better today than they were yesterday, then that's a win. And that's exactly like the philosophy that our founder put in, and we've continued it for 40 plus years, which is why we've made it 40 plus years. Like, we're about to turn 50 years old very soon.
50. You're turning 50. That's a good age to be. Let me ask you this as I totally take over your podcast. Why are we going to Knoxville? Why are you doing this? This is a lot of work. This is a lot of work. I think I know why you're doing this, but why is the GOA put this on in Knoxville? Not the location.
Yeah.
The event. Why?
Well, because our members asked for it is the very, very honest and clear reason. And our members asked for it because they want to be better advocates. They want to see the companies that support them. They want to learn from the best. They want to be entertained. And I think what we all saw happen during COVID was a lack of community. And as a Second Amendment community, we're craving a celebration of the wars fought. We are craving that ability to come together and be like, we have, for the first time ever, 29 constitutional carry states. We have won on pistol braces. We have won fight after fight after fight, and there's plenty of fighting to go. But in an election cycle where they're doing everything that they can to tear us apart and segment us, we are saying we're going to celebrate and we're going to put on a party for the Second Amendment community.
And it's not just our members. I mean, I'm new to GOA. It's been, almost 10 months now. Before I took the interview with John Valleco and Eric Pratt, I had talked to some of my friends and some of the marketing guys in the industry, like, hey, I'm going to go take this interview. What do you guys think? And the first question I got from them is, when are they doing a convention? And the industry is, striving for another convention that is very public facing, that's a very retail based clientele, but also somebody who's fought and won for their ability to do products such like the pistol braces and things like that. So it was very eye opening when I was asking around, and everyone's like, when are they going to do a convention? That was the first question was, when are they doing a convention?
Little did you know, we'd already been working behind the scenes for a year on it. So.
Right. I was just like, hey, when are we doing a convention? Kayla's like, we've been working on it.
It's exciting because we were on a podcast that I work with in our very first episode a couple months ago. We were talking about the Knoxville convention. It was the day that y'all announced it. I think it was the very same day we filmed our first podcast, and on the same day that GOA announced goals. And I said, for me, all that stuff y'all said is great. But I also get to go and see actual firearms that I've never seen in person. I've seen them on their Instagram, and to actually get to walk around and do hands-on, that gets me going because it really is cool to see things. Because I'm limited to my local gun store. I'm limited to Hillbilly USA in East Tennessee. And it's a great place to be. I love it. But there's going to be some tools and toys and fun stuff there I've never seen before. And there's nothing wrong with enjoying the Second Amendment. There's nothing wrong with that. People ask me all the time, should I buy this? Should I buy that? I'm like, buy the one you're excited about. Pick a good brand, and then buy the one that just makes you excited. Because if you're excited about it, you'll train. And I think for me, it's one of the slices of the pie of a convention like this, or whatever we're going to call it, a gathering, is that folks may get a little more excited. And if they're excited, they're going to train.
No, you're absolutely right. I'm very excited for the ability to, there's not a lot of shows on this side of the country. It's a very underserved area of the country where most of the shows are towards the Mississippi River, south. Some are on the East Coast, some are way lower on the East Coast, but Tennessee and this area is just so underserved, and there's such a strong Second Amendment community here, and giving the opportunity to people to see not only brands that they know, but also new products that they're going to launch and things like that. I'm very excited for, and also having the ability to get people involved in learning about, how to become an advocate, how to learn on stuff. There's so many cool things about this that I'm just giddy about, that I'm like, cool. So they're going to be able to talk to their favorite YouTube creators, but also at the same time get to go talk to their favorite companies. And that's combining the two into one, where at past shows, you might go to a booth meet and greet and you say hi and then you get your picture taken and then that's it. I want to be able to give them the opportunity to go, hey, I got a question for, Johnny about this. What's your opinion on the new, latest, greatest WizDag boom stick?
I hate it already. I hate it completely. Yeah. It's a big fail.
But yeah, that's the thing. Like, a lot of people who are content creators and people I've talked to, they have an audience. They have people who follow them, and they most of the time, if they don't go to other conventions or other shows, they don't get to interact with them. And this is a chance for, the people who support you to come and interact and talk and ask questions, which just brings a smile to their face, which brings a smile to your face, which brings a smile to Kailey's face. And I'm just sitting there in the corner going, okay, let's go.
One of the things that is exciting to me about goals and about the content creators, about the people who are maybe our friends on the screen, but not your friends in real life, is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, and you can tell me if this is way off base or not, but it seems like there is a divide between, those guys, they're the YouTubers, they're not, real media, or, those guys are fun, but they're clickbaity. And it's like, you don't have the opportunity to like humanize and like talk in a convention that doesn't, for lack of a better terms, put baby in the corner. We really feel like what you all do is mission critical, and we want to be a springboard and a launching pad for, whoever's next to get behind the camera, and whoever is currently there to be able to interact with people as the speakers, and not, you can cover it if you want. Like, I think we're going in with a different kind of philosophy.
Years ago, a friend of mine told me, he said, in the gun industry, specifically with firearms and related material or goods, there are companies that get it and companies that don't get it. He said, and the divide is a chasm. And I thought that was really interesting. And what he was referring to was new media. There's companies that know how to work with new media, that interact with us. There was one company I watched. They went from opening, never spent $1 on marketing materials, and on zero marketing dollars. All they did was talk to YouTubers, and they were in the Wall Street Journal in 3 years, an article about their success. They got it. There's other companies, like we talked about a little bit ago, that still advertise in magazines, and that's a challenge. I like magazines, but it's a challenge when that's 90% or 100% of your marketing budget. Your idea is I think spot on, in that there are folks that they look at some YouTubers and they're like, oh, that's not real media. And I'm not here to defend YouTube. YouTube is a garbage company that we use as a tool with horrific politics, horrific policies. And if they have my opinion, if they have what they want, will be eating bugs and living off of their electricity. And if that's what they want, I'm still using them as a tool. I think it's fantastic. I own an iPhone that was put together in a sweatshop. It's a tool. I think there are some YouTubers who are doing a really good job. Some of them are pulling in bigger numbers than CNN. And yet, if you were to go into the board of YouTube or the board of CNN, they would pish posh or poo-poo away the idea of new media. Some guys, and I'm not here to defend myself, I do memes on the internet for fun. There are guys that are making a difference in the 2A world using YouTube. There are also within that, and this is just human nature, there are some, to your point, well, that's not a real YouTuber because they won't do politics. It is very difficult to look at another woman or look at another man and say, here's how you should be doing things. Here's the mission the GOA should have. Well, y'all didn't go fight in Nebraska on bill number 419. And y'all like, well, we're actually doing 419 other bills right now. We're busy. Like we're trying our best. People, human nature. We look at an organization, we look at an individual, we look at a YouTube company. Like there's a lot of guys have small companies that do their production. And we say, well, you're okay, but you're not doing X, Y, or Z. There's a lot of fire and fury from people that say, well, you're not doing politics. There's fire and fury. Johnny, you're not shooting guns as often. I heard somebody in my comment section the other day, nice guy, but he said, Johnny, I haven't seen you shoot a gun in months. And I'm like, well, I've tried to been helping the cause in other ways, plus memes. We get bifurcated too often in that it's us against them. Back to the Ford and Chevy. If you're not doing it my way, you're not doing it the right way, and it's a challenge. I hope that in Knoxville at G.O.A.L.S, that there's going to be a lot of cross pollination. To your point, we get to hang out in the aisle and meet people. I spend a lot of time when I go to conventions, meeting folks, taking selfies, talking, and they'll just pull me aside. Johnny, I need your opinion. All right, brother, my wife needs a new gun. Should it be this or this? And I'm like, I don't know. It sounds awesome. Buy them both. And he's like, okay. So I'm not here to give great wisdom, but I do think it's good to meet people. Also, what Kailey said is that it's people we've never met in the real world, to get offline and actually sit down, have a conversation, laugh, eat some pizza, giggle in the aisleways, make fun of each other, and have a good time. And again, I want to use that term cross-pollination because there's things that I think that'll happen in Knoxville that can't happen in the digital world.
I think you brought up a really good point. I mean, there's a lot of times where you have, we'll call them quote unquote friends, that you've met online and you've had hours worth of conversation chats back and forth or comment section chats. And this is an opportunity to actually meet in person because they may live hundreds of miles away. And I think that's what's really cool about not only G.O.A.L.S, but our industry is that we make friends very quickly because we're all like-minded. And we have these conversations and then we actually meet in person and you're like, it's like you've been friends for 10 years.
I'm not alone in this. It feels like we're alone sometimes. It feels like you're alone. We're watching, you go downtown to our cities, down to Main Street, USA, and you just see the change. You go to this is not low-hanging fruit, I promise. I am a single dude. If y'all know anybody out there, if you got any aunts or really nice sisters, just let me know. But I am single and ready to mingle. As a single guy, I didn't feel it at the grocery store. Everybody kept whining, groceries are really high. I'm like, mine was like $19. Like, holy crap cakes. In the last 6 months, I'm feeling it. Gas, we all feel at the gas pump. And that's not low hanging fruit. That's a really easy example that we see every day. I'm struggling at the grocery store. He's feeling the pain. And I think it's really healthy for us to go, you know what, I'm watching folks lose in some state. There's battles that we're losing in some states. There's garbage that gets passed at the state level over and over. And I feel very alone sometimes that all my friends are digital, that all my friends are, folks that I only see once or twice a year. And I think it's good just to sit down and go, you know what, I'm not alone. And there are some people that still bleed red, white, and blue in this country. Yeah.
I mean, you brought up groceries. It was funny. There was a study that was posted the other day that people are splurging on groceries. That's their splurge. That's scary.
I'm going to eat as a little treat for myself. I'm going to have lunch. Yeah, it's a challenge. We're dying out there. We are dying out there in the street. We are in East Tennessee right now. We're in a touristy area. I have been coming to Gatlinburg here, or Pigeon Forge, Sevierville, this region, for a long time. I'm 50 now. I'm 50. I have never seen the streets as empty as they were today. And I heard several people in the house today talk about that, and people that y'all had heard, employees and stuff, people that live here say the same thing. And somebody went, well, why do you think that is? And I'm like, it could be the fact that people are trying to eat and not buy saltwater taffy or airbrush T-shirts. It's a challenge.
Well, it's funny. It's the same. The industry's feeling the same impact. I mean, the NICS numbers just dropped for March, and I know this podcast is going to air later, but these are the most recent numbers. We're at 2017 numbers, so that was 2.6 million for the NICS. Now, NICS does gun background checks, and they do so the numbers are a little. But I've talked to people in the industry, and the parts and accessory guys are hurting. Some of the bigger guys are hurting, but it's the guys who have the more budget-friendly minded firearms that are thriving right now, and they've really carved their niche out, and that says a lot when the budget guys are thriving and the big name brands are kind of struggling.
One of the primary sponsors of my channel is more of a boutique brand. I mean, they're fantastic. They work really, really well. I stand behind them with fire and fury, but they are not budget friendly. And I hear this more and more from my audience. They're like, Johnny, we're struggling, man. Like this is a real challenge. And hats off to a company like Smith & Wesson that just went through the trouble, toils, pain, sweat, and tears of moving to the South and trying to get away from bullcrap laws and bullcrap taxes. And hopefully that will pass on to the common person. I hope that companies will notice what's taking place with folks thriving in the budget area, because people are struggling. The average family is struggling, and I don't think that can be emphasized enough. And you laughed at me earlier. Last night, I'm trying to find protein. I just need some protein in life. And I would like some protein in case the zombie apocalypse happens. And so I was on YouTube this morning at midnight, watching videos on how to raise quail. And then after about 1 a.m., I'm like, what the heck am I doing watching guys harvest quail eggs? And what can we make with a quail? It's the size of a marble. And like, how bad are things where 6'5" orangutans are looking at quail eggs? Is it that bad? Have we come to that point where we're having to harvest quail eggs?
Well, it's crazy. You said you're talking about the boutique things, From my understanding, the average sale price of a gun 2020 to 2021 was about $700. We've dropped down to $400, and then under. I mean, that's a $300 swing, which is for some people that might be a drop in the bucket, but for me and for others, it's like, well, that's a lot of cash, and there's a lot of people who will buy the budget brands because they can afford to buy ammo. They can afford to get the training.
Bravo to the families that are prioritizing defending themselves in this economy. Like, let's be real. If you are struggling to decide, am I going to have a full tank of gas or groceries, but you set $25 aside so that in the next few months you can purchase, insert firearm here to defend yourself and protect yourself. Like, that is like bravo for saying, I am going to take personal responsibility for my family, and I am going to make sure that we're able to defend ourselves, because the sacrificial dollars is what you don't see is, well, how many months did it take people to save up to that price point? And I don't want to ever come across like we're knocking budget guns at all.
Not at all. Not at all.
Because
in no way.
it is, I would rather you have something and you're able to defend yourself than to make you feel a social pressure so that you don't buy something to defend yourself. Go to the range, rent firearms, test them out, find something that you like that's in your budget. Or if you're like me, when I got my first gun, it was on the clearance rack and it was the only thing I could afford, and my option was one of one at that time. You can start wherever you're at with what you have. And I don't want anyone to think that we think your sacrifice isn't a sacrifice for you to choose to defend and protect yourself.
I had a guy reach out the other day, and he said, Johnny, I'm headed to Thunder Ranch, the training facility out in Oregon, Thunder Ranch, and I just feel really bad, and I'm having really bad feelings about this. I said, why, brother? He said, I'm taking a Palmetto State Armory rifle. is Clint going to sharpen a stick and stab me in the neck when I get there because it's not a good brand? And I was like, listen, I cracked my fingers and I started typing. I was like, listen, dude, this is on a public forum. I said, listen, he is going to pat you on the back and he is going to champion you coming all the way out there, blood, sweat, tears, hotel bills, and gas to train. And I said, if it runs, and he screams this through the microphone. I've heard him say this, Clint Smith, for years at Thunder Ranch, that if it runs and your magazines run, come on, like that's all that matters. And I love your point, Kailey, that and there are people in this industry that look down on the poors. They make memes about it and they laugh about the poor people. Holy smokes, my first pistol was a used Ruger, and I still have it. And if I go down with that thing, it would be an honor. I mean, it was not an expensive gun when it was made. It wasn't that nice, but it runs. So for me, when I talk to folks about this, and I told that guy, dude, I said, dude, get yourself out there, train, put your money into ammo. And he said, thank you so much. This is what I needed to hear. I said, they're all going to break. Every gun, if you run it hard enough, is going to break. Learn how to fix it. Learn how to run it. I think for me, I love your point, is that we don't look down on these folks. God bless. We've all been there. We may be there tomorrow. Some days them, some days me. And it's more about protecting our families. Jared and I went to Valor Ridge back in December, and one of the things that the lead instructor there, Reed Hendricks at Valor Ridge, he said he taught us 1 bullet drills because it's cheap. And he was talking about his training, and we're all blessed out. You know, we're blessed. We're overly blessed. We are spoiled rotten. The number of rounds the 3 of us get to shoot in a year, we're spoiled. We're spoiled. He was saying that when he goes out, I don't remember the number. It was something like, I'll go out and train 2 hours. And I'm like, all right, well, you used to shoot like 9 boxes. He'll shoot. And he's like, no, I shot like 20 rounds. And he'll train 2 hours with 20 rounds. And I don't know if that's the exact number, something like that. Holy smokes, my respect for that. The idea that I'm going to sit and dry fire and sit and work and prepare for, heaven forbid, the worst day in my family's history to protect these children or to protect this woman, protect myself, or maybe hopefully my wife trains that I don't have. I'm still single. If anybody's looking, I don't have a wife, but I'm available. But if maybe my wife or my partner protects me, and money ain't got nothing to do with it. It's got nothing to do with it. Yeah, there's going to be some expense at any price point, but there's a lot of good brands right now that are doggone awesome, and they work, and they're a lot cheaper than the boutiques.
Well, you brought up a good point.
Being single? That part about being single?
That's
Was that a good point?
That's a great point.
Do you have an aunt?
No.
Well, keep me in mind.
We'll keep you in mind.
Thanks.
You brought up a good point that we are spoiled. And I caught myself a couple weeks ago at a range day going, you know, I've been to so many of these. I'm just walking around. I've pulled the trigger on so many things. And I've caught myself going, you know, I feel spoiled about this, and I enjoy going to range days. But I enjoy, like, I walked up to a booth, and I was getting some trigger time, and there was some people waiting behind me, and I enjoyed more watching them smile and enjoy themselves. And that's what really realized to me, it was like, yes, I'm spoiled because I'm in this industry, and I'm very blessed to be able to do a ton of things and shoot, you know, many people's G.O.A.L. and bucket list guns and things like that. And I've realized, like, I will go to a range day and I feel like I've offended somebody when they're like, hey, come shoot this G.O.A.L. We'll name it by name, G.O.A.L. gun. Go shoot this MP7. Well, I've already done that. Let me shoot something else. There's so many more people in line who have not shot that G.O.A.L. gun. Don't waste the ammo on me. Let them enjoy it. Let me go. You got something else. Like, let me just shoot something else. Or
the definition of being blessed is to know that you're blessed. Like, while it's happening, like, we're all having a great day. We're drinking water. We're laughing. Like, things are pretty good today in a crazy world. And to be able to stop and go, you know what? I've already fired the MP7. I'm good. I went to the IV-88 range day. It's a range day down in Georgia every year. They've got stupid stuff, belt feds and full autos and suppressed stuff. And this past year, I shot 2 magazines, one of which was against my will. I didn't want to do it, but the guy wanted me to shoot it. And so I shot 2 magazines all day long over a 2-day event, 2 magazines total. And I was kind of sitting up on a hill, and just watching, hanging out with my boys, and people are like, Johnny, why aren't you shooting? I'm like, this is why I'm here. I'm here for the relationships. Shooting for fun and mag dumping's fun. Nothing wrong with that. But this is much more important than that.
And I couldn't agree more. I mean, the relationships at range days, walking around and talking to people, you know, the last range day I was at was a gathering. I got to hang out with Big Kid. I got to hang out with Gear Know-How and all those guys just to go and build the relationship. And we walked by a booth and they're like, Steve, come here and do this. And Steve's like, let somebody else do it. Or I'll go up to a booth. And they're like, hey, come shoot this new thing. I'm like, no, let them enjoy it. I'm here because you're my friend. Let's shake hands. Let's talk. Sit there and have a conversation. And there's more people out there who haven't had the joy of shooting a belt fed or had the joy of shooting an MP7. There are very few things that make me giggle. Like, I think the last IV88 I went to, there was a BAR. I'm like, yes, that makes me giggle.
All bets are off when the BAR comes out. We are not spoiled enough. BARs, we're going in.
But it's those things where it's like, now I'm just chasing, bucket list things or things like historical guns or things like that. And watching somebody who has never shot a belt fed get behind it. It just brings so much joy to me, and I didn't even get to pull the trigger. I'd rather watch them get off the line with that big smile on their face go, oh my God, I got to shoot an M60, or oh my God, I got to shoot an MP5 or an MP7. That brings way more joy and helps expand our community more than me going up there and mag dumping.
Well, I think that we get that also, and probably even in a greater amount when we get to take someone to the range for the first time. There is nothing greater than taking somebody for the first time, hearing all of their reservations of, I can't do this, or, this is scary, or, man, my heart's racing. And then they do it and you see the smile and you see the relax and that they're hooked for life. Very few people leave that situation and go, I'll never shoot again. It's one of those life-changing moments that, because of what we get to do for a living, we get to have more than I think the average person does. But if you're listening to this and you know somebody in your life that has never shot a gun, take them, have that moment. And then tell us how amazing it is, because it is my favorite thing that we get to do.
Yeah, and I really hope that people understand it doesn't come off as arrogant. It comes off as I'm very blessed, and I'd rather see people enjoy themselves than me go out and waste somebody's ammo. I mean, ammo's expensive. Everybody knows.
Yeah, it's part of the industry is that they'll take anybody that's in the industry and they'll line guns up, and that's just how this industry works. I'll have people, viewers sometimes will hit me and they say, Johnny, that was a big waste of ammo. And I'm like, well, that was their marketing budget and they want us to try stuff. That's part of it. That's not at all as to go, wow, look what we get to do from me, or, haha, I'm so good. I've done it so much. I would never shoot an MP5. I've already done it. Yeah, again, I think it's a great point. That's not it at all. It's that relationship first. Because at the end of the day, why do we carry a firearm? I saw you just before we pressed record upstairs with your new little toy, and it was very very nice, very nice. But why do we do the fun stuff, the cool stuff, the black and shiny toys? Well, at the end of the day, it's about protecting these relationships, and it's relationship first. Not to get too sappy, but that's really what it's about. And it's not that we've arrived and we don't have to shoot BARs excluded. we don't have to shoot that. It's that we're stinking blessed, and it's been a good ride. YouTube has been good for me. I know that you all have had exciting rides and neat rides and cool things, but at the end of the day, it's about protecting our constitutional rights, defending what we've got and getting back what we've lost, and protecting our loved ones. And that doesn't go away. Like we've talked a lot about how things have changed. The human mind's changed. Media has changed. We moved from the telegraph to now, but at the end of the day, the mission, it stays the same.
It's funny you bring up the camaraderie and everything. Unlike a lot of other industries, I think we're one of the few last industries that can get away with a handshake. and a hey, let's do something. Yeah, let's go. Handshake, deal. I feel like that speaks a lot about our industry and who we are as a group of people, because we're very the firearms industry from the outside looking in looks large, and it is a big industry, but it's a very small industry at the same time. We're a very close knit group of people where I can go, hey Johnny, I want you to try out my new thing. Cool. Shake a hand. It gets sent off. It's one of those things where I think that we've lost as a society that handshake mentality of business. It's really strong still in our industry.
I've never heard anybody put it into those words, but you're 100% right. Like I've had so many companies say, hey, would you like to try out our product? You don't have to make a video. You don't have to do anything. Just try it. And thanks. Hang up the phone. It's in the mail and sent to my FFL 3 days later. Yeah, I think we might be the last. It's refreshing in some ways in an industry that can be dirty, an industry that can be petty, an industry that can have challenges. It's refreshing that the handshakes are still there.
Well, thank you so much for giving us your time and sitting down and having this conversation. And I will say this may go down as one of the most entertaining conversations that we have
y'all
had.
Need better guests. If this is the most entertaining, y'all need better guests, because this is some low hanging nonsense. We even had Cupcake here checking his phone a minute ago. You and I are having this talk. He's literally checking his phone. It's that entertaining that we're checking our phone. Hey, thank you. Thank you to the G.O.A. for all y'all do. Thank you for having me here. God bless East Tennessee. God bless the G.O.A. And I can't wait to see y'all and y'all's faces in Knoxville.
Awesome. Well, be sure to like, share, subscribe, and leave a 5-star review on all podcasting platforms. And we will see you next week.
Bye now.